Hello fellow booktubers, my name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today I'm going to be doing a hashtag Browse My Bookshelf episode. For those of you who do not know, Jillian over at Bookish and Nerdy is the original creator of hashtag Browse My Bookshelf, and what I've done with this hashtag is to actually show you all of the books that I have read in alphabetical order, and within each episode I just show you 5 books. So if you have not seen my other episodes, I will be leaving a playlist down below and also a link to Jillian's video, so definitely check both of those out. I feel like today's assortment of books is very interesting, mostly because 3 of these books feature the word blood, and I'm only actually going to be talking about 3 authors because some of these authors just wrote books that happen to be very close in alphabetical order. So let's go ahead and get into these. First up, we have Belle of the Brawl by Lacey Harrison, which is the 3rd book in the Alpha series. And I bought this book because it was by Lacey Harrison, who wrote the Click series, which I was just so obsessed with in junior high, and so of course I wanted to pick up this series. So I'm pretty sure that I just bought all 4 books at once. Obviously I can't really tell you what this one specifically is about since it is the 3rd book of the series, but the general synopsis is that these books are centered around 4 different girls, and they are selected to participate in this kind of competition thing on Alpha Island. And there are so many girls on this island that are all alphas in their own unique ways. The girls on this island are like entrepreneurs or actresses or dancers, just a very wide array of things that they were very good at. And so it is very interesting to just see the different technology that takes place on this island, as well as the girls' different talents. This is definitely a drama-filled series, but I do have to admit that I really enjoyed reading them. I'm pretty sure I read this book in like 8th grade, because this is actually the book that I stopped on. As I said before, there are 4 books in the series and this is the 3rd one, and for a long time I just didn't read the 4th one for whatever reason. I rarely do that with series, especially one by Lacey Harrison, but for some reason I just stopped, and I don't think it was that I necessarily didn't enjoy this one. I just didn't feel like reading the 4th one for whatever reason, which is very odd for me to do. On Goodreads, the rating for this book is 5 out of 5 stars. I don't really know if that rating would hold true to today. Obviously, I've read so many different books since then, and so I don't know if I would definitely classify this one as a 5-star book. But in my junior high mind, whenever I first read this, I really liked it. Therefore, it got the 5-star rating, and so I'm going to keep that since it was my original rating. But I think that if I read this book again, I wouldn't like it as much. Although the series was very interesting, it just felt kind of repetitive while I was reading it. Of course, it's filled with a lot of drama, and although I like that about it, it was also kind of a downfall of the series, so I definitely have some mixed thoughts about this book, but overall I really enjoyed it when I first read it. This next book is also by Lacey Harrison, and that is Best Friends Forever, which is the 2nd book of the Click series. I've read this book multiple times. I bought this book, of course, because I really enjoyed the Click series, and so I bought the entire series, this one being one of the first. This series is about a group of girls who are known as the Pretty Committee, and they basically run their middle school. These books are a lot of drama, but they also have like fashion and things like that mixed in. So as I said before, I was just pretty much obsessed with the series whenever I read it. I've read this book at least 2 times, maybe more than that, and I don't really remember this book specifically since there are so many books in the series. Someday I think that I probably will want to read it again, just because I have so many memories with the series and of growing up reading it. Again, I don't know if that rating would hold true to today, but whenever I was younger, I definitely thought that these books were just like the best thing ever. Next up, we have the finale of the Heroes of Olympus series, and that is The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. And I bought this book because I read the entire Percy Jackson series and then the Heroes of Olympus series, and so I'm pretty sure I got this book whenever it came out. For those of you who do not know, this series centers around 7 different teenagers, and they have special powers because they are all the sons and daughters of different gods and goddesses. This book definitely had a lot of intense moments in it, and I really loved reading it. This was not my favorite book of the series, but I think it was my 2nd or 3rd favorite. I read this book around Christmas time of last year, which is kind of a weird time to read it, but I do remember really loving it whenever I was reading it, but also not wanting the series to end because this is the finale of all of the Percy Jackson books. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, which I think are well deserved, and the series is amazing, and although this book might have been a little anticlimactic, I still really loved it. Next we have a book by Rochelle Mead, and that is Blood Promise, which is the 4th book in the Vampire Academy series. And of course I bought this book because I actually bought all of the books together in a box set. I can't really tell you what happens in this book specifically since it is the 4th book out of 6 books, but the series is about a girl named Rose, and she is a Dhampir, which means that she is half human and half vampire. But she is such an amazing main character, and she is just so kick butt, and she is also the guardian of her best friend Lissa, who is a vampire. And Rose is also in love with a guy named Dimitri, who is a Dhampir. And there is a lot of drama and action and adventure that ensues in the series, and I would definitely recommend it. I don't remember specifically reading this book, but I do remember reading the series as a whole, and I just loved reading these books. And even though it's kind of a big book, I definitely felt like I sped through it. This one's a bit different than the others because it takes place in a different country, and there is just so much going on in this book. It is so much drama, and it is definitely a lot of heartbreak as well. It's one of my favorite of the series, so of course I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I read this book and the entirety of the series in February of 2014, and I definitely look forward to rereading the series again in the future. And the last book that I have to share with you guys today is Bloodlines, which is also by Rochelle Mead, and this is the first book of the Bloodlines series. I got this book because I love the Vampire Academy series so much, and I had also heard great things about this one, so I definitely wanted to pick it up. This is kind of like a companion series to the Vampire Academy series, but it features a different main character. This series is about a girl named Sydney, and she is an alchemist, which means that her main job is to protect the humans from learning about the vampire world. She is completely human, and she really does not like vampires whatsoever. And then the other main character of the series is Adrian, who is a vampire, and he is just such a bad guy in the way that he smokes and drinks, and he is everything that Sydney hates. So obviously romance ensues. I remember reading the series because I read it not too long ago. I read this book towards the end of January and the rest of the series in the beginning of February, and I remember not really loving this book as much as the others, and it was mainly because of Sydney. She's not that great of a person at first, but she definitely undergoes a lot of character development. So if you guys have read this book and you did not go on with the series, I would definitely recommend it because it just gets so much better from here. I actually gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, which is kind of a low rating in terms of this series because I just love it so much. But this first book kind of falls a little bit flat, and also there's kind of some world building and story building that happens in this book. It happens for like the next few books, which is very understandable, and first books usually aren't the best of books, so that was completely fine. I still definitely recommend this series, and I just really love it. Although I didn't really like Sydney at first, I definitely grew to love her. I'm just realizing that these 5 books kind of share the same color scheme, which is very interesting. This was just a very interesting group of books for Browse My Bookshelf, but I really love talking about them, and I think it's very interesting to see how far I've grown as a reader and just the wide array of books that I own and the authors that I love. Tell me down below if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. Now I'm gonna go get back to reading.